When I went through medical school, business training wasn't a part of the educational focus at all. And let's face it, most doctors had a similar experience to me, but that doesn't mean they're not entrepreneurial by nature. Our last expert is a gentleman named Mark Amott, a business advisor to practice owners for 15 years. He's here to enlighten us about many key business aspects you'll need to think about should you decide to take the leap into ownership. So Mark, let's get down to business. Tell us, what are the 3 different options for practice ownership?
What they are in summary is to buy a practice that is for sale. You could buy into a practice with other practitioners, or the obvious one is to start a practice by yourself.
And can you talk us through sort of the pros and cons of each of those and why you might choose one over another?
Sure. So starting your own practice gives you maximum control. That's the main benefit. However, that comes at a cost and with complexity. The other options really do shortcut some of those setup considerations, simply because the practice is already there running and is established. So it's a quicker way in, but you do get less control because you have to fit in with what's already there.
And so what are some of the key steps that a practitioner needs to take when they've made that decision to move into private practice?
The first thing that we would advise is that you start by planning your high-level vision. Where do you want to be in 3 or 5 years? After that, it's really important to get a very, very good set of advisors around you. Clearly the doctor is an expert in patient care and services, but there are many, many other considerations in setting up a practice which don't have to do with the clinician role. Then what we'd say is have a very, very good operational plan to the day that you open.
So you mentioned advisors. Who do you need on your team?
Well, first and foremost, you'll need an accountant and probably a lawyer to help you with setups. You'll also need a financier or banker to lend you money. Then we have a design team for your environment. So if you're building out, you need somebody who's experienced in healthcare fit outs. You'll also need an IT provider. And also don't forget that in a setup, you're going to need a good project manager to bring everything together.
There must be a lot of big financial decisions that you need to make along the way. Can you run us through some of those key points?
Look, this is a very important area. So often in a setup, finances are one of the very first things that you need to look at. So if you are purchasing a building and doing a fit out, for example, you will need a mortgage to cover that. You'll also be buying equipment and there will be finance facilities that you need to finance that equipment. And also when you're running, you will need something such as an overdraft to cover your working expenses.
And on the other side, what are some of the income streams that you can rely on or expect in private practice?
So the obvious one is fees generated from your own activities. But that's not the only source of income that you should be looking for if you're looking to own your own practice. So there are also fees from associates who may choose to join you. You may also look at room rental. That may be from other practitioners, but it also might be in some specialties through rental to pathology companies or similar. There are also a number of grants depending on which specialty you're in, especially for general practitioners, so don't overlook those.
You mentioned the management aspect of private practice, and I always find that interesting because doctors are not trained to be managers. So what would you recommend in order for doctors to not go astray at that point?
This is a big trap doctors that are new to practice mistakenly believe that they can do it all. Our recommendation is that you don't do the managerial work. You can hire good managers and you can get good help from outside. For heaven's sakes, don't be doing the wages at 11 o'clock on a Friday night.
How long do you think it takes for most of your clients to really find from starting their private practice to when they're really at a happy level of activity?
So I might take that in 2 parts. To doors open, really we'd recommend a minimum of 4 to 6 months, assuming you have a premises. So a build can add a good year or 18 months to that. Once you're open, it's probably going to be another good 12 to 18 months until you're really hitting your straps with patients. That depends on your specialty, but do expect to be quieter in your first year than if you're an associate at an existing practice.
I know there'll be lots of doctors out there thinking, I'd love to consider private practice, but I'm not sure if I'm ready. What would you say to them?
So really, any doctor in private practice can consider going out on their own. Some of the key things that we see that are those triggers is that they want something more from the way they practice, or they may want more control over their lives. What we'd say is that go and have some discussions with your trusted advisors. You're probably more ready than you think.
Thanks so much, Mark. It's been such a pleasure to have your insights. I'm sure there's so many doctors out there now feeling more empowered to give it a go.
Thanks, Bronwyn. It's been great. Thanks for having me.
This is the Peter MacCallum Cancer Centre, where my life-altering journey began. At various points I was apprehensive and uncertain, but a close friend of mine said, just keep stepping forwards, the path is forming under your feet. Even though there were risks and challenges, I backed myself and gave it a shot, ultimately living the life that was right for me. Would I do it all again? Absolutely.